Today I'm going to replace a Jenn-air cooktop that was cracked. You can see down here that something dropped on the cooktop and it cracked it. The first thing I'm doing is going to the circuit breaker and identifying the circuit breaker for the cooktop and turning it off. Next, I'm back upstairs at the cooktop. I want to make sure that the power is off, fan does not work, burners do not turn on, so the power is off. Next thing to do is look underneath. You'll see that there is a exhaust fan for this particular model underneath. And I'm also now looking underneath. It's hard to see, but I'm looking to see if there are any connectors underneath, and there are no connectors holding down the cooktop to the countertop. Well, given that there's a fan here, I can't just lift this whole unit up now. I have to disconnect the fan in some fashion in order to be able to lift up the cooktop unit. So I'm going to investigate that and then I'll come back. So there's no apparent way to disconnect the fan from above, so I just started taking off this tape, and I should be able to reuse that later, but if not, I have a new roll of that tape, because you have to have tape on the exhaust fan when we replace it. So now that it's disconnected, I've verified underneath that there's no straps of any kind holding the unit to the countertop. Now that's remaining is for me to lift up the countertop and kind of brace it in the air. So I'll get to that next. I was able to lift up the entire unit and brace it with two small boards, as you can see here, one on each side. And that's about as high up as it can go, because as you can see, it is still connected below it. There was enough flex that I did not have to actually disconnect the power thus far, so it's a good thing. That simplifies it. So next, the remains is to remove the knobs. Just pull them up on both sides, and then unscrew these bolts which hold the unit down. And you'll see over here to the new unit. Here's the new unit, and you can see where there's these screws that line up to those that are in the original unit. So I'm going to go and unscrew the screws. One challenge for this, without disconnecting the wires, is there are in the back, there are 3 screws. There's 1, 2, 3 that I can feel. So I'm going to use this flexible adapter to be able to connect onto the nuts and remove them using the flex adapter. And then hopefully on the reverse, I'll do the same thing. When I put the new one on, I use the flex adapter to be able to get the back 3 nuts off, or bolts off. Next thing is to remove the 2 screws. There's 2 screws in the middle, one here and then one here. And same thing, I'm using the flexible adapter to remove both of these screws from inside the unit as well. With those 2 inside screws turned off, I was able to just directly lift up this old unit and take it off. And now I'll show you, this is what the inside of the unit looks like. Now we need to take off these little rubber grommets or washers, whatever you want to call them, and use them on the new unit. So you just kind of bend them out and pull them out, and then insert them into the new one. So I'm going to do that. Next, I'm just going to lift up this new glass cooktop, lift it up, and move it right on top of the cooktop. And then I will screw down the screws. Well, as is often the case, things don't always work out as you hope them to work out. When I went to try to screw these screws in here, it's so tight, it didn't work with the flexible adapter. So I went with another plan. I took just a Phillips bit and a 1/4 inch ratchet, and I inserted the bit in there, and then with that I was able to, this was small enough that I was able to tighten the screws this way. So one word of caution, just be careful that you don't drop the bit down in the fan bay, otherwise you have to retrieve it, which I did twice. So next I'm going to take the screws and insert the screws into the original holes where they were before, all around the box. Well, getting the 3 back screws in place, one right over here, one in the middle, one on this side, turned out to be a pain in the neck, but with a little bit of patience, and I used a little 1/4 inch ratchet, that actually worked out very well, and I was able to get those in. So now I need to just take the whole unit and gently remove the sticks that I used to brace, the little 1x2s that I used to brace this up in the air. And as I set it down, I just need to be careful to line up the exhaust fan with the ducting down below. So here goes nothing. So I removed the sticks, was able to center the whole unit down into the hole. Being careful to line up the exhaust fan below, and then I applied tape to the ducting so that was sealed off. So 2 things further. One is this cooktop was not sealed down in any fashion. I don't know if that was installer error for when the builder originally installed this, or by design or not. So right now there isn't, I just set this in the hole as it was before. It does move slightly, but you just kind of have to convince it to move a little bit. So I'm thinking I may need to get some adhesive to put underneath there. So that's one thing. The second thing is, when I was ordering parts, I went ahead and took the opportunity to order a new filter for the fan as well. So the old one was the original one. Even though I washed it multiple times, it was getting too gross. So I ordered a new filter and didn't have to pay shipping for it, which is a bonus. So I'll set the filter in there. And now all that remains to be done is to put this fan vent on top, which I'm going to wash off afterwards, and put on the power, and we're good to go.